The party was stopped a mile from the tower by a Royal Navy ship, captained by their sugar daddy, James. James thanked the party for saving Glasshour Tower before giving them a big exposition dump. Things were not good in the Rubicon territory. The Queen was bedridden, dying from a broken heart after her son died back in 10 Perfect Words. Remember that? I definitely remembered that vital plot detail when I made that video last year. TLDR, the Crown Prince and Admiral of the Navy, Prince Julius, was the commander of that big naval battle against Quincy Mortimer. At the start of the battle, Julius cockily approached Mortimer and was immediately cut down. So, yeah, things were a mess because the only legitimate heir to the throne had died in battle. To make matters worse, the Cult of Flames had become more and more daring in recent weeks and begun robbing Royal Navy ships. James gestured to the nearby tower, Gunsmoke. A few months ago, the tower's leader, Sheriff Peter Salt, had requested the tower join the Royal Navy, hoping they would provide protection from pirate attacks. Unfortunately, he died under mysterious circumstances right before signing the paperwork. James speculated that the Cult of Flames may have been responsible. At the moment, the tower was going through, let's call it an election season, a series of trials designed to select the new sheriff. The tower was split between two factions, one led by an associate of James's named Silas Westbark, and one led by some creepy clown guy named Marcus Valentine. Valentine? Wasn't that the name of that jester guy who died mysteriously in a way that cannot be traced back to us? Sean said. James nodded and explained that Marcus was the high priest of the Cult of Flames. He requested that the party head to Gunsmoke and accomplish at least one of three things. A. Get rid of the Cult of Flames. B. Ensure Westbark won the election. Or C. Open the tower portal so the Royal Navy could sneak in and handle things themselves. Oh cool, you want us to do some CIA shit, said Kit. What? No, I don't. Nah, it's fine. I'm down. Assuming you're paying, of course. You will be paid handsomely. So anyway, the party got ready to do some CIA shit. As they were about to leave, James pulled Sean to the side to talk to him. You're a rogue, right? I need you to do some extra work for me. Off the books. I'll do anything you want, Daddy. James stared at Sean for a few seconds before silently walking over to Kit. You're a rogue, right? I need you to do some extra work for me, off the books, and also to not make it weird. What do you need done? There's a letter in Silas Westbark's office that I need you to grab for me. An old letter he keeps hidden from a woman named Julia. Will I be paid extra for stealing this? Yes. Baller. The party walked into Gunsmoke Tower to find a large crowd gathered, watching as two men stared each other down. One dressed in black with a large hat, a sword sheathed at his side. The other wearing a familiar mask and robes the color of fire. In between the two men sat a stone building with barred windows, and on this building's wall sat a large clock. The clock struck noon. Immediately, the two men reached for their weapons. The man with the hat, Silas, in case that wasn't obvious, drew his sword and charged for his opponent. The masked man, Marcus Valentine, hit him with a massive blast of fire. As Marcus and Silas dueled, the party heard the sound of violin music, instrumental for the battle, played by a masked cultist. Marcus and Silas dueled for a few actions each, but when it ended, only one stood. The man from the Cult of Flames. His cultists rushed into the street, cheering at his victory. The man with the violin ran over and raised Marcus's hand into the air, proclaiming, "Behold, the future sheriff of Gunsmoke Tower, Marcus Valentine!" Iroh helped Silas to his feet and healed his wounds. The party obviously had questions. Silas invited them back to the sheriff's station and explained what was going on. Gunsmoke housed the most secure bank in the world, warded by powerful magic and guarded by the toughest soldiers. Because the bank was the centerpiece of the town's leader was thus in charge of protecting it, meaning the town's leader had to be a strong warrior. Because of this, the town's sheriff was decided by a series of 3 duels. What the party witnessed was the first. Pro tip for DMing, Your setting can be as weird or dumb as you want as long as you think out the implications and reasons to justify it. If you want a leader determined by, this town isn't big enough for the two of us duels, justify it by having the people revere strength. If you want a town ruled by Guy Fieri, have him be a priest who satisfies a dark god by sacrificing delicious meals, and then have him self-immolate himself out of spite when the party is about to kill him. Players will go along with anything as long as there is a decent in-universe explanation. Also, then you can use that explanation to come up with plot points, like having your party defend the bank from robbers, or introducing more weird Guy Fieri cultists. Back to the story. The party explained they were sent by James to get rid of the Cult of Flames. Silas scoffed at this. Is Jimmy worried about his old man? He said. Well, tell my son that I can manage my tower on my own. I don't need the Royal Navy waltzing in here and telling me how to run things. The party, still needing to get paid, offered to help Silas win. Silas revealed that there was a clause in the sheriff's rules allowing alternates to fight in the place of the sheriff candidate for some of the matches. Iroh volunteered. As the party tried to go to sleep that night, they heard loud music coming from the Cult of Flames neighborhood in the tower. They decided to check things out. In the middle of the street, they saw a glow-stick rave. Violin Boy played dubstep, don't think about it too hard, as the cultists danced around him. Marcus Valentine waved to his cheering supporters before walking into his house to get some sleep. I'll handle Violin Boy, you go after the big one, Kit said as she split off from the group and walked into the rave. Iroh knocked on Marcus Valentine's door. He let Iroh in and invited him into his study, which was warmed by a raging fire. So, you're the one Eastbark chose to fight in his place, Marcus said. That's right, Iroh replied. Well, I await my duel with you in the morning. Although, that is an interesting pet you have there. That's Maz, he's my familiar. Curious. Are you a fire mage, perchance? I spent most of my life on a jungle-covered island, and I learned that sometimes you need to carry out controlled burns. A lot of people think fire is just destruction, but under the right circumstances, it's needed for new life to spring forth. Oh, what a marvelous perspective. You know, Iroh, my Church of Flames is not too different from that idea. We worship Prometheus, the god of flames. At the beginning of time, when mortal races still hid from the biting cold of winter, he bestowed upon us the spark needed for civilization to flourish. To honor this ancient god, we periodically offer him sacrifices. Food, relics, the occasional virgin, things like that. Someday, we believe, Prometheus will return from his slumber and destroy this accursed world, so it may begin anew. Whoa, hold on. That isn't what I'm saying. Fire can be used to clear out dead trees. Destroying everything, that's madness. But how can civilization flourish once more when our world is covered by an endless ocean? When it is haunted by crime and violence, when every time people begin to get organized again to create a proper society, someone, or rather, something, ensures it is destroyed. Only through fire may we start again. Iroh stared Marcus in the eye. I will see you tomorrow morning, he said sternly. Meanwhile, Kit approached the raving musician and said something that honestly shocked me. Oh my god, you're like super good at music. What are you doing? Pretending to be dumb to get his guard down. Fair enough, go ahead. So what is your name? Oh, I'm Tullius Valentine, the musician said. Whoa, that's a cool name. Wanna go talk and stuff? Sure. They walked off into a back alley. Are you related to Marcus? Marcus is my older brother. I'm the youngest of us three. Well, us two now. Some monster murdered our brother Cicero last month. Oh my god, that is so sad. He wasn't a creepy weirdo at all. So why do you guys want to take over the tower? It was Marcus's idea. He believes that there is something hidden here that can be of great use to the church. Although, he hasn't told me what yet. Oh, so you don't know anything useful and this conversation is a complete waste of time. What? Nothing, ha ha ha! Tullius led Kit to a rooftop and asked if she wanted to see something cool. She said yes, and he cast the spell Hypnotic Pattern. Now, DM explanation, this is how I saw things. It's a party, Hypnotic Pattern creates a bunch of trippy swirling lights, Tullius is just trying to have a cool psychedelic thing. Kit's player, naturally, saw it in the more obvious way, that Tullius had invited her to a dark rooftop and forced her to make a wisdom saving throw. Kit saved because of her charm advantage and immediately began stabbing him. Tullius ran away screaming. The next morning, the townsfolk gathered for the second round of ritualistic combat. Iroh stood in Silas's place, while Tullius stood in Marcus's place, with bandages covering his many stab wounds. Yesterday's fight was over so quickly, it wasn't even worth the time I spent fighting. If you can beat my loser brother, then I will grant you a proper fight. Iroh. What, are you chicken? Tullius, kick his ass! Yes, brother! And then Iroh beat the shit out of Tullius. It was a complete curb stomp. God damn it, Tullius, Marcus shouted, kicking him in the stomach as he lied on the ground. Iroh's friends weren't there to congratulate him on his victory. They were busy breaking into Silas's home while he was distracted by the fight. In Silas's safe, they found a few interesting things. First, a letter from Sheriff Salt to Vice Admiral Dick of the Royal Navy, saying he wanted Gunsmoke to join the Rubicon territory. Second, a half-full bottle of wine sent by Marcus Valentine. Third, an empty glass vial, the label of which had been scratched off. Rem picked up the wine bottle and looked it over, looking for anything suspicious. I wonder if Iroh knows detect poison, he said. Sean smiled. I'm a poison detector, he said. Sean then proceeded to drink the entire bottle of wine in a single gulp. I asked him to make a Constitution saving throw. It was 12 or something like that. I said, okay. Nothing happens. Yet. As Sean and Ren were looking over the safe, Kit snuck into Silas's bedroom. There she found an old, faded letter sent by a woman named Julia. The letter was clearly from James's mother and discussed his parentage. Kit pocketed the letter and asked me if there was anything else in Silas's room. Sure, you find some poetry he wrote to Julia. What does it say? Yeah, that's a thing I should have figured out before I said there was poetry. It says, My dearest Julia, you're as beautiful as the ocean is wet. You're as beautiful as the ocean is wet. That is what it says. Truly, Silas is a master wordsmith. Late that night, Sean began to feel ill. He stepped out of bed and vomited up a gallon of blood, taking 12d6 poison damage in the process. Sean, barely standing, walked over to Iroh and woke him up. Iroh, I have a tummy ache. Iroh healed him and went back to bed. Sean was still missing a few hit points, so he decided to test out a cool new magic item he'd bought from McGucket. A homebrew item I called the Apple Seed Jar. With this item, you can instantly grow an apple tree whose apples act like potions. Sean planted a tree, picked some apples to eat after the next time he drank poison, and went to sleep. As the bank clock clicked towards noon the next morning, Iroh and Marcus Valentine stared each other down. You may have beaten my worthless brother, but today you have to take on the High Priest of the Church of Flames. This duel will be over in only a few seconds and... Why is there a tree in the middle of the street? Who planted a tree there? This is a public road! Iroh and Marcus began their duel. It was a spectacle as they hit each other with every ounce of literal firepower they could muster. Iroh teleported around with Maz, while Marcus summoned a spiritual weapon, shaped like a flaming scythe. The scythe tore through Maz, temporarily killing the spirit. The duel concluded with a fiery explosion, as Iroh's fireball collided with Marcus's flame strike. When the smoke cleared, Marcus Valentine stood as the remaining champion and new sheriff of Gunsmoke Tower. Well, shit.